My Lords, when I tabled this regret motion yesterday, my noble friend Lady Bennet of Manor Castle actually gave me some advice. She said, don't lose your temper, and I'm going to try to do my best to heed her advice. I would also like to say that I'd like to thank the Minister for his engagement. He has been very kind and very polite, and I'd like to thank him for that. And I'd also better state for the record that I am a protester of many, many decades, but I believe in non-violence, and that is a limit for me. However, there are many reasons why prescribing Palestine Action is a bad idea. And listening to the Noble Lord the Minister, for me, his descriptions of the three organisations had a very distinct difference, and Palestine Actions did not appear to have the same calibre of evil that the other two did. And therefore I think that collectively organising these three into one SI is perhaps a little bit sneaky of this government. It's not like any other group. Palestine Action is not like any other group that the British government has declared a terrorist organisation so far. I was 12 years on the Met Police Authority, and in that time I had lots of anti-terrorist briefings, and the actions of Palestine Action don't actually ring true for me as terrorist activities. This SI also goes against the promises. No, I'm so sorry. I would just like to finish my speech, if you don't mind. If you don't mind, I would like to finish. No. First of all, this SI actually goes directly against the promises made by ministers when the anti-terror laws were introduced. The then Home Secretary, Charles Clarke, clarified that if direct action groups do not engage in serious violence, the new definition cannot catch them. Now, the current definition of terrorism includes property damage in order to cover actions which might not be violent in themselves, but which can, in a modern society, have a devastating impact. Now, based on what the Noble Lord Minister has said and what the government have told us, Palestine Action's activities have not had the potential for a devastating impact on society, and nor have their activities included a pattern of serious violence. Yet the government is putting them into the same category as Islamic State or Al-Qaeda, and this sets an incredibly dangerous precedent that impacts on numerous peaceful campaigning groups. There's a long and noble tradition. No, sweetie, no. There's a long and noble tradition of the use of... noble lords can come in at the end, okay? There's a long and noble tradition of the use of direct action by protest movements that includes the suffragettes, and yesterday we celebrated the anniversary of the Equal Franchise Act, when women were finally given the right to vote. Also the anti-apartheid protests, Greenpeace and peace campaigners like CND, and the women of Greenham Common. Under your proposal, would they also be retrospectively branded as terrorists? And what about Queen Boudica, a freedom fighter for the British tribes under the Roman yoke? This government would call her a terrorist and say there's no place in British society for her either. Now, campaigners committing criminal damage have been annoying the public and governments for well over 100 years. The police take them to court, the newspapers owned by rich people condemn them, and occasionally we get a change in government policy. And that's rather how our damaged democracy has been working. I completely agree that democracies have to defend themselves against violent attacks on their citizens aimed at furthering a political cause, which is why we should be uniting to prescribe the other two groups that the Noble Lord has described. But democracies have to defend themselves against politicians choosing censorship as a way of silencing opposition to unpopular policies, and I think that's what the government is doing here. And that brings me to my most important point. This prescription order undermines the entire consensus behind our country's anti-terror laws. I would ask the Minister and every